Welcome to the Business Owner Spotlight Series. My name is Gabriel Moore. I am the senior partner and head coach here at Action Coach Vanguard in Central Iowa. Today, I have Teresa Davis, the owner of West 40 Market, as my guest. We're actually neighbors. We're going to be talking about her business, journey to business ownership, challenges, best practices, and share a peek into what it's really like to build and operate a business from Teresa's perspective. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop new conversations, just like this one. Teresa, welcome, and thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. If you can, please give us a brief overview of your background and tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably not brief. I'll try to make it brief. So again, my name is Teresa Davis. I own West 40 Market in Uptown Ankeny. A little bit about me, my background. I went to the University of Northern Iowa and got my degree in fashion design and merchandising. So it gets even better after that.
Right.
I then moved to the Des Moines area and had an internship here as kind of finishing off my major, and obviously needed a job because it was not a paid internship. And so a very large bank in the area at the time was doing just a mass hiring. And so obviously my chances were really good at getting a job, and I did. So I went to work at a bank, mostly at the time because my parents cut me off. And so I really just needed a paycheck. Obviously had nothing to do with my major. But I actually ended up loving it. And I worked full time for them for actually about 16 and a half years. Had a great career, worked my way up. I oversaw a department that had locations in 3 different places across the United States up until COVID. And I was obviously home during COVID, like everybody else was. I was also pregnant and had a child during COVID, and was unfortunately laid off from my job of almost 17 years towards the end of COVID and towards the end of my maternity leave. I actually was still on maternity leave, technically, when I got laid off. So I guess just to kind of back up just a little bit, then my parents had a farm. I was raised on a farm as a teenager. We moved there a little bit later on in life, but mostly raised on a farm. And they raised beef and had individual cuts of beef that they sold in our hometown of Green, Iowa. And so while I worked at this bank, I was also starting to kind of dabble in a little bit with the farmers market, the Des Moines farmers market. And I just saw this really great need, what I thought was a need, of giving the communities access to Iowa raised meat. I mean, we live in the state of Iowa, and it seemed like you couldn't even walk into a grocery store and really be guaranteed access to this. So unless you knew a farmer, or you shopped at a farmer's market, which was about 6 months out of the year in Iowa, you really didn't have access to that kind of stuff. And I just, in my mind, as a small town girl, in rural Iowa that had access to this all my life, I thought this was just the craziest thing ever. Why aren't these people eating all this really good meat?
We have beef here.
Why don't we have the beef here? Yeah. So I started doing the Des Moines Farmers Market because I thought that would just be really cool to start to kind of get into that and to bring what my parents were doing to the Des Moines area. And it kind of took off. So I did that for 4 seasons. I was obviously still working my full-time corporate job. I would literally go out on deliveries and do deliveries on my lunch breaks. I would meet customers literally in parking lots and dark alleys. I'm not kidding. It's true. I did this.
Yeah, that's grinding.
Yeah, I would take deliveries and take orders with me to work and keep in a cooler in my car, and I would deliver them after work and before work, and was just trying to kind of make it work however I could in between what I was actually doing full time. And so when I got laid off from my full time job, which was the second time I had been laid off while with that corporation, I said, screw it, I'm gonna go do it, and I wanted so bad for a while to have a brick and mortar, a place that people could walk into and shop individual cuts of meat that was raised right here in the state of Iowa. And that's kind of what I did. So West 40 started off that way. And started off with just a couple of freezers, just a small amount of meat. And over the course we've been here for about 2.5 years now. In June, it'll be 3 years. And over the course of that 3 years, we've probably at least tripled in size of what we have here in the store, of the number of farmers that we source from. And then we've also got over 30 different Iowa businesses that we feature here in the store too, with rubs, sauces, honeys. We have fresh produce in the summertime. We have fresh bread drops every Friday. And it's all Iowa sourced, everything.
You're a
So
connector. You're a connector, right?
yes, yeah, yeah. So that's another really big thing that I have here. I'm, as you know, here in Uptown, we have an amazing community here, and one of the
Yeah.
biggest reasons why I wanted to open my store here is because this little community in Uptown reminded me of home. When I started looking at like places to put my store, I didn't actually live in Ankeny at the time. I do now, but I didn't at the time, and I wasn't familiar with Ankeny. And the old brick buildings and kind of just this little tight-knit community nestled in this residential area, which is kind of crazy if you kind of drive through it. It really reminded me of home. It
Yes,
looked
it's
like my
like
old
so
downtown.
mystique.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so I ended up just doing the storefront here and, but very involved with the Uptown community, very involved with the Ankeny community, but a big reason, is something that I'm very passionate about here at West 40. It will always be about our core meats. Of course, it will always be about sourcing from, my parents' farm, at least for the time being. My dad will eventually retire and probably not have enough to supply me with, but it really is giving farmers and other businesses an outlet 24/7 all year long. So, if you've been part of a farmer's market, it's a grind. It is a grind, and it's really only 6 months out of the year, right?
Yeah.
And so this for me, I wanted them to have the ease of and visibility of a storefront without the overhead, because it is expensive and not a lot of people can make that work with the products that they have. And so I thought if we can bring that all together and just have a one-stop shop for customers, and for the community to come and just get all of that all year long, I just thought that would be the coolest thing. And so that's kind of what I did. Oh, you kind of cut up there. What'd you say? Oop, I can't hear you. It might be my internet. Maybe.
Check two.
It's just really broken up. Is it me?
Check one, two, check two. Oh. Perfect. Oh, 2.212. My end looks good.
Can you hear me? Yeah, you're really, really choppy for me.
Check, 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 check.
Here.
Get out of here. It's working
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Naturally. Fine. Ah, well, we'll edit that out. Don't worry.
So sorry.
Oh my
I can't
gosh.
hear
Okay.
you.
You can see it, so hear me now, though, right?
That's perfect. When you're up close like that, I can hear you perfect. You were super choppy when you were away from it. Yeah.
Somebody probably messed with my stuff. Whatever. We got this. We got this. Now I'm wondering if it happened in the last one. That's all right. We're moving on.
So I didn't hear the question, the follow-up question that you asked when I.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Big smiles. Why West 40? Why the name? Where's the name come from?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So my parents' farm, when they built it, and again, I was a teenager when they built it, but it is 40 acres west of town. And so the name that my dad gave the farm was West 40. We're always going to go out to the West 40, or just come on out to the West 40 is what we tell everybody. And so when my parents obviously started the farm and started kind of this meat business, everything was labeled as West 40. When I sold it all at the Des Moines Farmers Market, it was under my parents' label under their business. And so it was obviously West 40 meat. So when I opened up the store here, the store is mine. I own it completely myself. So behind the scenes, legally on paper, it's actually called something else. But the storefront and everything else that people know and that they have already kind of come accustomed to is West 40. There's a lot of customers that shopped at the farmers market that followed me here and still shop with me to this day.
Oh.
And so I wanted to kind of keep that going because that seemed to already be kind of a familiar thing for people. So
cool, Cool name. It is absolutely a cool name. For whatever reason, it feels like it fits perfectly. And it's going to be really cool too to see if like as you grow and as you become bigger and maybe I don't know what your goals are, but maybe you might open up new stores and stuff like that and your parents just be like, "Wow, West
Yeah.
40's just become this big thing." That would be so neat. That would be so neat.
Yes,
Well, tell me a little bit about what role you currently play in the business. Are you the primary owner and are you the only owner?
I'm the sole owner. Yep.
Perfect. Okay. And then when you look at your role, how many hours do you spend working in the business? So in other words, like the job of maybe I don't know if you butcher there, you probably transfer meats. I don't know anything about butchering. So when you look at your role, how many hours do you spend working in the business as opposed to working on the business on like systems and growing and resources and things like that?
Yeah, so I would say I'm not going to put probably a number behind it. I would say working for right now, I'm probably about I would say 60% working on the business, 40% working in the business. So
Wow.
I can tell
That's
you
actually pretty high.
a year ago it was quite different. um,
Okay.
2023, a really big goal for me was to work more on my business versus in. I was, almost about 2 years into the business at that point in time. The first year itself, I did not have a single employee. It was 100% me. And I have a 3-year-old daughter as well, that I raised by myself. And so that's a lot. And
Yeah.
I knew that in order for me to, and this might be a future question, so if I'm kind of
Okay.
skipping, it is what it is. But I knew in order for me to really grow and evolve, I needed to work more on it and not be in it. I wasn't moving forward by being here. I want to say, I hate to use the word stuck, but stuck here in my store every single day, right?
So what was the catalyst for that though? I mean, what besides feeling that you might get stuck, where did you go to learn that you needed to work on the business in order to get to that next level or to start to work on that next level? What was your strategy with that?
Honestly, a lot of it was just reflection of where I was at. And I did learn a lot in my previous role. I led a very large part of this organization, 150, 180 people, a lot of different teams. I mean, I learned a lot from that. And a lot of it was, especially as I grew in my role in that organization, I couldn't do it all. Right. I couldn't do it all. And so I had to figure out, how do I be effective up here for the people all the way down at the bottom? And so,
Okay.
um, so that I kind of took some of that with me, and a lot of I've tried really hard with my business sometimes every day, but I try, at least every month, every quarter, to say, okay, how did it go? How am I feeling? How am I growing? Am I moving forward? Am I evolving? Or am I just, I don't want to get stuck. And so that was a
Absolutely.
big part of it, of saying, okay, I'm going to start setting goals for myself and start saying, what am I going to work on this year and this month and this quarter, or whatever it might be. And so that was a big one of,
Let's
you've got
go.
to figure out a way to get some really great help in here. And that's the other thing too, is that it's a small business, right? So then that
Yeah.
means I can pay another person, because I'm also depending on this solely myself as
You're
income.
wearing all the hats.
All of them. Yeah.
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 And there's so many hats in small business. Most people don't really have a clue of how many hats you actually wear
It's
and how
crazy.
many of those hats you could fill with employees and resources.
Crazy. Yeah. And you got to think, if you're going to start bringing on employees, then whatever work that I, as the owner, am doing has to be resulting in more business, because I have to
Exactly.
compensate
Let's
for
go.
the fact that I have an employee sitting out here now working, and I'm still getting paid while I sit here doing the other things that are working on my
Right.
business. Now I'm paying two people. So it's got to make sense from that standpoint. And that's super tricky. I still am, it's still something I'm working on, but I'm certainly starting to see, even the last, 6 months of kind of doing this and being intentional about it, I'm starting to really see that momentum and a little bit of that shift in that movement in my business, and the growth in my business year over year, and seeing the work that I'm doing then now behind the scenes while somebody else is running my store, and how that's actually helping me and helping the business.
Just wait, Teresa. Just wait. It's going to get so much better. It's going to get so much better.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about your audience real quick. Who's your primary um audience? Who does your business serve specifically? If you had a perfect target, what would that person look like? What would that family look like? Who is it? Who is it that West 40 serves?
Sure. So, I mean, first and foremost, obviously our core here is meat. So, I mean, while we have other things, being a meat lover is is probably a good start. But we really want for what we're giving or getting, what we're providing the community, we want to be affordable first and foremost. We don't want to be a specialty shop. I want to be an everyday, this is where I go to get my meat shop. And I would say our audience is people who want to put really good quality Iowa raised meat on the table for themselves and their family. People who care about where their it comes from, which they should. They deserve to know where their food comes from. And again, you
Sure.
live in the state of Iowa. We also ship nationwide, so I shouldn't single it out to just the state of Iowa. But you've got, I mean, literally your
Good.
fingertips, you have some of the best meat in the entire nation right here. But right here, and it's affordable. And I think that's
Great.
is that, yeah, it's like breaking the stigma of the fact that if I buy a ribeye from, directly from a farmer, it's more expensive than when I go to a local grocery store. And that's actually not the case. I've posted before on my social media, and I've gone to local grocery stores, and their meat's actually in some instances more expensive than what I have here. And so I think it's breaking the stigma of that first and foremost. And the audience is people that can just afford everyday groceries, and people that really truly care and want to know where their food comes from.
That's absolutely fantastic. And you've actually answered a few of my questions too, which is fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, you're
Um, I'm
welcome.
always curious about what successful businesses are doing. What percentage of your monthly sales typically is invested back into your marketing budget? Do you have a marketing budget currently?
Um, I I would say it's small enough to probably be non-existent, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I'm,
Okay.
I'm a barter and trade for my marketing a lot.
Okay.
Uh,
I get
you know,
it. I get it.
even my oil changes on my vehicles here for the business sometimes are barter and trade, but it's,
Yeah, when you got meat, you've got it's practically
gotta
the
do
same
what
as
you gotta
cash right
do.
there.
I have a small marketing budget during especially the high months, your
Okay.
spring, summer holiday when it's very, very busy. Right now I don't do a
Okay.
whole lot, but I'll be honest, I am a lover of free marketing, and there's so much opportunity out there for that.
Yes.
I look at word of mouth is huge. I
Yeah.
have a couple of people in the community, kind of influencers, I guess you would maybe call them, that I offer just a small discount of items in store in exchange for them to really promote me on social media. I have
That's
worked
a
my,
marketing budget.
I mean, right, but
If you're discounting, you're giving up sales. You're
a
paying for
little
your
bit,
marketing.
a little
Yeah.
bit, yeah. But
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Like, if there's a budget there, it's so small that it's probably not even really considered a budget, I guess, if you would say that. But
Okay.
it's there, it exists, but it's tiny. Um,
Right.
Honestly, like I have tried so hard and worked really, really hard to be creative on the how do I do it?
Sure.
The old grassroots marketing, right?
Sure.
How do I
Yeah.
do it? By just word of mouth, by things that are free to me. Getting out in the community, networking, going to events, being involved with the chamber. I mean, while yes, that's not, I obviously pay my dues, but there's a lot that I can be involved with. It's just time.
Yes.
That's not necessarily money and that's sitting in a budget that's to be spent on something.
No, that's okay. It's I don't want to say anything right or wrong. I definitely don't want to change your perception on anything right now. This is totally about your business and kind of what you guys do. There are other options out there, and you are absolutely using, like you said, grassroots marketing. I love that term. What a great term from come from West 40 Mark. It's
Yeah.
like it's perfect. Grassroots marketing. I'm probably gonna steal that one from you, Teresa. Just saying. We'll see what happens later, though. But we spent a bunch of time focused on the business. Why did you? Well, we kind of went over that, I guess. As you look back on your journey so far, what's been the most memorable roadblock or hurdle that you were challenged with, that you were forced to overcome, specifically with the new business?
Huh. Oh man. I could probably have an entire sheet full of roadblocks that I've,
Oh, I
been able
bet. I bet.
to.
What's the most significant one?
Um, I think for me personally, I I started off from scratch. I started off by myself. I was a single parent of, a baby at the time, depending completely 100% on myself. And so, I honestly, along with hundreds of other things, probably, I think was getting over myself, getting over the thought that I couldn't do this, that this was too hard, that I was failing. One bad day seems like it's the worst thing in the world and I should just quit. And I think any probably small business owner would probably tell you that it's such a roller coaster. And so I
Roller
think that
coaster.
hurdle standpoint, and I will tell you that I still to this day, it's something I work on, is not getting so caught up in the little things day to day, that the bad days maybe is a good way of saying it, right?
Sure.
The days that just aren't quite as successful, aren't quite as great. Sometimes the months that aren't quite as successful aren't quite as great. The
We could
questioning
tend
of
to let it consume us, right? I mean, it
absolutely,
becomes all consuming because we allow
absolutely,
it to
yeah.
be consumed.
The
Yeah.
doubting of yourself, you have maybe one person that says something negative. I will never forget, I had a guy come in here the first probably 6 months of me being open. And it was a gentleman that came in and we were kind of, chatting. And I take the customer service side very seriously. I developed some really,
Sure.
really good relationships with a lot of my customers. And so, we were chatting, just having a great conversation. And he was just kind of looking around and him hawing around. And he looked me directly in the eye and he said, "It'll never work." And he turned around and walked out. To this day, it's like it still stings me like a little bee, in my arm or something.
No, you don't even know what he was talking about, right? You just automatically assume it's probably about the store. Wow, what a
Yeah,
weird thing.
yeah. But
Oh
honestly, so
man,
here's the thing. So like first of all, I've never forgotten that, because
I bet.
every time I have a good day, I literally think of that guy and in my head, I say, I'm going to prove you wrong. Every single time I say, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Good.
Um,
Good. I hope
yeah,
he's watching.
I hope he's watching. I hope he's listening to this.
He's
But
watching.
honestly, like from a hurdle standpoint, it's little things like that like that could have just crumbled me completely. And while it did maybe
Yes.
for 24 hours, and I went home and cried and thought, what am I doing here? I don't want to let my daughter down. I don't let my friends and family down. Um,
Right.
it's getting over those things. And also, I think that I attribute a lot of that to just the people I've surrounded myself with. I have a really great
No.
um group of
Support system.
support system that I can literally text everyone and any one of them and say, I just had a really crappy sales day, or I just had a customer that didn't like something. Oh my gosh, right? God forbid. And I can count on them to be like, okay, no, 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 no. Let's just remember the bad mama jamma that you are. Let's talk about all the great things
Support
that
systems are huge. And
okay.
actually, because we were kind of running out of time, so I gotta get to the end of this. And I don't want to guide what you're going to say, because the stuff that you're saying is so empowering to other business owners. Quite honestly, Teresa, I could talk about this for a long time. And sometimes I wish it wasn't so squished.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'm hoping that we're going to have multiple ways to share these things in the future as well. And not just with you, but with other business owners.
Yeah.
But as we begin to wrap up, I mean, we covered a lot of ground in our conversation today. And for those who are watching, this should be powerful for you, because some of the things that Teresa shared really resonates with me, I know for sure, and probably a lot of business owners out there, about self-doubt, imposter syndrome, things like that, that in order to get to that next level, in order to bust through that glass ceiling, you really have to power through that. You really have to persevere. And you are like a crowning achievement of that perseverance. And so let that be said. Look where you're at today compared to where you were. Look where you're going. I mean, it's those types of things. But I have a few rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
Quick, top of the head answers for each. Okay. So one word or one sentence. We're going to blow through these. You ready?
Ready.
Let's rock this. What is the key to success for you?
Getting out of your head, believing in yourself.
Nailed it. Getting out of your head. What is your one piece of advice for other business owners? And you can't say the same thing as the last one.
Just go for it.
Go for it. I love it.
Mhm.
Faith. I love it. Go for it. What is one book you're reading now or have read most recently?
It's probably not business related, but I love Young Pueblo. I love him. He is very inspirational, and that just motivates me both personal and business, just to kind of overcome things.
Great. What kind of stuff does is he?
It's kind of he's got a great social media page too. Young
Okay.
Pueblo is his name, and he's got really good. It's almost kind of poetry, but it's very short little excerpts in his books of just kind of overcoming things, motivation, believing in yourself, all the good stuff. So meditation kind of stuff, which I love. So
Okay. Outstanding. If you had to choose only one area of your business you could immediately improve tomorrow, what would it be?
um oh gosh, getting more out of it and being able to work more on it.
Wow, getting more out of it. I love it. I love it. Before we get into the final question of the day, how can others learn more about you or West 40 Market? Is there a way they can get in contact? What are the ways that we can get in contact?
Yeah, so I'm on both Facebook and Instagram. We're at West 40 Market, all spelled out, Forty, not 40. So you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, message me on there. We also have a website, west40.com, which is super easy. You can also shop on there. Like I mentioned earlier, we do ship nationwide. So if you ever wanted to try some of our good Iowa raised meats, we can always ship it to you. Um, and then all my contact information is on the website and our social media as well too.
Perfect. Last question. What is most inspiring to you today?
I would say the people around me, my fellow business owners that I've kind of linked arms with that are in all different sides and times of their business, that are just in a variety of different ways, just incredibly inspiring. And I always look to them as just kind of what I need for a push on some days. So
So cool. I love that. Rising tides. We talked about this
that's
earlier.
right. That's right.
As we wrap up, I just wanted to say thank you so much, Teresa.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. This has been an amazing spotlight on your journey, not just as a business, but as an owner as well. I love that you're literally right across the street from me. I love that you allowed me to kind of take a look under the hood with you and your business and your journey and your parents' journey and stuff like that. I think that's all just such a great story. And I'm looking forward to seeing how you just crush the next level.
Thank you.
Absolutely. This has been Business Owner Spotlight with Teresa Davis of West 40 Market and your host, me, Gabriel Moore with Action Coach Business Coaching. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.